Hey, 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 happy Friday! Come on in, pull up a chair, the Daily Dope is in the air. Howdy, 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 gang. Yes, I'm Jeff McAleer, back once again as your host here at The Daily Dope, presented by thegaminggang.com. This is episode 305 of The Daily Dope, and it is Friday. Excuse me, got a little scratchy throat there for a sec. It is Friday, May 17th, 2019. Welcome aboard. It is a live show if you are watching live on YouTube. It usually takes a few minutes for folks to pop in on chat. Look at that. Paul Nolan, right away. Bang, right there. Yes, good evening to you too, Paul. Anyway, tonight I am going to be reviewing Things from the Flood from Free League Publishing and Modiphius Entertainment. Yes, this is not out yet. It is not out yet. It is shipping to stores later on this month. So anyway, this is a live stream. If you are watching on YouTube, be sure to take part in chat. If you'd like to say howdy, maybe you have a question, or maybe there's something about Things from the Flood you might want to learn about, or maybe have me kind of delve into a little bit more during the review. If so, by all means, please chime in. I will respond. Do want to mention chat is not on screen. It's one of the ways that I keep some of these stranger commenters at bay. Although I got to admit, the YouTube crowd, they've been pretty good. I have not had to worry about too many oddballs jumping in. That was something that happened on Twitch. That is why I don't stream on Twitch. Started off, I've mentioned this before. I did about a week of streams on Twitch, and they only save your videos for a couple of weeks anyway, so that was kind of like, nah. And they have a limit on how many kilobits per second you can upload. Not that these videos are like super high quality anyway. This isn't like you're watching my ugly mug in 4K. But I would get some oddball people popping in to chat. And of course, I'm flying solo. I don't have a moderator for chat, so I was like, you know what? I don't need this. I don't need this from Twitch. I'm probably a little old for Twitch anyway. So I see we got Dan from No Enemies Here popping in. Hey, Dan, we got a shout out from the Players Aid today, didn't we? You and I. It was kind of funny. There was a tweet. It was like a Friday follow tweet. I was like, hey, check out some of the cool people who cover hex and shit games, you know, like war games and that. And it was kind of funny. Dan and the gaming gang, me, got little shout outs. So that was pretty cool. Anyway, as I mentioned, if you are watching live, feel free, pop into chat, say howdy. Like I said, I will respond. Of course, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you check out some of the videos on the Gaming Gang channel and you like the channel, please subscribe. Don't forget to ring that little bell, because it will not only notify you when there are new videos up, but it'll also tell you when the stream goes live within about 5 minutes or so, as far as I understand. So it'll probably be important for you to ring that little bell, especially with convention season just around the corner. I am going to probably be doing more standalone videos that are not going to be live. And of course, there will be convention coverage as well that I am not going to piggyback into the Daily Dope. I think that would be kind of a cheat. I mean, I don't mind putting an interview, say, on a Tuesday. I've been trying to arrange interviews for Tuesday shows, but I don't want to do like 2-3 weeks of squeezing an interview into the show. I think that'd be kind of cheating a little. So Nefarious Coel is popping in with with their own sound effects in chat. Pops into chat. Howdy. Kabuki Kid is here too. I am really surprised that we've got as many people in chat right now. Figured it's Friday. People have graduations and things going on tomorrow. I know I'm going to my nephew's graduation from high school. Folks probably already know that my nephew Cameron happens to be part of the gang. Well, he's going to be graduating tomorrow, so all weekend long is going to be pretty crazy. So no news tonight, because I figure the show's probably going to go a fairly good length of time paging through things from the flood. I keep wanting to say Tales from the Loop because the titles are so close. Things from the Flood, Tales from the Loop. But anyway, no news tonight. So we're going to actually be diving into the review fairly quickly. Did want to mention a couple of things. First off, I saw Herman Wolk passed away today. And he was 103 years old. And if memory serves me correctly, I think he actually wrote a novel at the age of 100. And if you are not overly familiar with Herman Wolk, I think most people would actually know him from the Caine Mutiny, which is a famous movie with Humphrey Bogart. But people kind of my age probably remember back in the 70s, back when we used to have these big mega event miniseries like North and South. ABC was really big on miniseries, and they did Winds of War, and they also did War and Remembrance. I'm sure quite a few of you out there watching probably remember those, and those were like huge mega event miniseries, not like the two-parters that you'll see nowadays. But yeah, they actually threw in a lot of stars too, including Robert Mitchum, which I think that was the first time he was actually on regular TV. So Lead Magnet is popping in. It's like, hi guys, bye guys. Going to game. Cool deal. Enjoy yourself, Lead. Have fun. Have a good time. I wish I was doing some gaming tonight. I don't think I'm going to get any gaming in this weekend either. Boo. Rats. So, anyway, also want to point out, if you like the GamingGang.com, if you dig the Gaming Gang channel, please tell a friend, tell 2 friends. Help spread the word. Do want to point out, I'm still trying to give away Ghosts of Saltmarsh. Yes, the limited edition Ghosts of Saltmarsh hardcover here. Contest is going on right now. It's not looking too promising. But if I can get to 2,000 subscribers by Monday, the 20th, not looking too promising, like I said. And if you are a subscriber and comment on any video from May 7th through the 20th, you will be in the running. And I will ship this anywhere in the world within reason. Within reason. Let's not get too crazy. Like, yeah, okay. I'll send it to Iran. I'll have it delivered by bomber. Let's hope that does not happen, folks. Anyway, Robert Moffat, beers for everyone. Rob Moffat's in. Good deal. No, and Dan says, didn't Charles Lawton do the Caine Mutiny? No, Charles Lawton was Mutiny on the Bounty, the original, with Clark Gable. Yes. As Mr. Christian. How dare you? And the funny thing is, the actual Mutiny on the Bounty, what the hell was the captain's name? Captain Bligh, wasn't it? Isn't it Bligh? Really wasn't at fault. They made the movie, the original movie, they made him out to be this, just horrible, terrible person. And Clark Gable and everybody was like, yeah, they had good reason to mutiny. Well, historically, that really wasn't the case. So, do I ship intergalactically, asks Paul Nolan. No, I do not. Not yet. We'll see what happens. So anyway, other thing that I wanted to mention was my Game Master tip of the day, which, we're talking about a role-playing game tonight, so I guess that fits in. So, usually every day I'll tweet some quick little Game Master tip for those people out there who enjoy running role-playing games. And today's tip was, the most valuable resource you will ever have is going to be yourself and your friends around the table. You do not need to go and spend hundreds of dollars or more on Game Master screens, miniatures, flip mats, all those trappings. You do not need all that stuff. I'm not saying you shouldn't go get it. Enjoy role-playing games however you want, but nothing is ever going to replace a really good game master and a really good group of friends around the table having an excellent time. That's priceless. In my book, that is priceless. So, all right. So what is coming up on future episodes of the gaming... I always say the gaming gang. Duh, it's the Daily Dope. It's what happens when you run a website for 9 years. Anyway, what's coming up on the Daily Dope next week? I am going to do... I'm going to have a couple of standalone videos that will pop up on Monday. I'm going to actually shoot them over the weekend. So we are going to take a first look at the Brotherhood of Steel Fallout Wasteland Warfare miniatures. This is the core box. It has 7 miniatures, plus I believe it also includes the cards for the minis as well. I just recently reviewed Fallout Wasteland Warfare, and I enjoyed it. I really did. I'm curious how these resin miniatures will stack up with the plastic minis that come in the starter set. I'm taking a guess. They're probably a bit more detailed. So that will be one of the Monday videos. And the other Monday video is going to be Yeah Magazine. That's right. I'm going to page through and take a look at Yeah Magazine from my good friend Mark H. Walker over at Flying Pig Games / Tiny Battle Games. Or Tiny Battle Publishing, I should say. So that is going to be on Monday as well. We'll actually take a look at MacArthur's Defeat, which is the featured game in this quarter's issue. So that will be on Monday. They will not be live shows. So if you want to pop in, check out the videos. One of the reasons why I'm going to kind of do standalone videos is because it's not going to take that long to kind of go through a box of 7 miniatures and a page for a magazine with an included game. So rather than cheating on, live episodes or something that's only going to take 10 minutes, I'll be like, see ya. I figured I'll just do some standalone stuff. Then on Tuesday, I am going to review Traveler Ascension Imperial Warrant. Woohoo! From Daring Play Games. Designed by my good buddy Terry Coleman from Victory Point Games Days is when I met Terry. Really, really nice guy. A good friend of mine. I am hoping to see him at Origins, and I will have something about Origins in a moment. Then on Wednesday, I will be reviewing Warfighter, the Modern Edition, as well as some of the expansions that Dan Verson Games had sent me as well. Damn good game. Is what a Herman Luttman game? MacArthur's Defeat. I don't think so. I'm pretty sure it's not. I think Herman has another game that's in the... I think it's in the pipeline for Ya. Let's take a look. Do we have the designer on this? Let's see. Game designed by Arrigo Velcagna. Sure, Dan just wanted me to look stupid trying to pronounce that name. That's why he asked. And I love it. Dan actually spelled Herman's name correctly. 2 N's, 2 N's. 2 N's in the Herman and 2 N's in the Luttman at the end. So, speaking of Herman Luttman, I am hopefully going to see him as well at Origins Game Fair. I am going to go to Origins if I can actually, because I've kind of talked about this on the show a little bit. I am going to take some games. I'm going to cull some games from my collection because there are way more games than what's right behind me on screen down here in the Duct Tape Studios. So I am thinking of maybe taking 10, 12 games, putting them up on the Gaming Gang website, having a little page there, and essentially, if people want to purchase those games, I think I'll use that to kind of finance my trip to Origins, because I've got San Diego Comic-Con, I've got Gen Con. I've got to go to Gen Con. There is no way around going to Gen Con. But I like Origins, and a lot of my friends in the industry only go to Origins. They do not go to Gen Con. So I'm really, really pushing to be able to go to Origins. Even though I'm going to be flying solo, that's one of the things. I don't mind doing solo coverage of a convention for a day or two, but the whole convention by myself, it's going to be, I don't know, kind of weird. Kind of weird. Oh my God, Dan, are you seriously asking me again if I'm going to WBC? You're just doing that. You're just trying to drive me insane, aren't you, Dan? From No Enemies Here, aren't you? No, I am not going to WBC. Isn't that in like, South Carolina or something like that? No, it is not on my agenda. Just like I have actually been approved for PAX Unplugged in Philly. People are talking about Philly. I have not gone. I have been approved. I think wasn't last year the first one or second one. Regardless, I have been approved each year that they have had it, and I have not gone simply because they schedule it like right around Thanksgiving, which is kind of odd, kind of weird. But I'm gonna maybe try to go to that this year because it does look pretty cool. It does look pretty cool. All right, so those of you who do follow the gaming gang as well as the Daily Dope know that it is a not-for-profit endeavor. So if you do like the channel, if you like the website, please consider making a small donation to the Lil Bub's Big Fund and the American Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals. Lil Bub's Big Fund does provide grant monies to organizations around the United States who care for special needs animals as they await finding their forever homes. Now, these animals might be a little bit older. They might be deaf. They might be blind. They might have mobility issues. Maybe they require medications each and every day. Regardless, these animals do deserve to find good homes, and Lil Bub's Big Fund helps supply monies to organizations who do care for these special needs animals. So, like I said, if you like the show, if you like the website, by all means, consider making a small donation. Ah, yes, Kabuki Kid pops in and says, Lil Bub makes me think of Grumpy Cat. Yes, Grumpy Cat passed away, I guess, 3 days ago on the 14th. So, and Grumpy Cat's real name was Tartar Sauce. In fact, there is a video about Lil Bub. It's called Lil Bub and Friends with a Z. And Lil Bub is the focus of the video, but there are other like internet cat celebrities, and Grumpy Cat is one of the cats that is in the documentary. I think it's about an hour long. Yeah, so Dan is asking if I knew Grumpy Cat had passed away. Yes, I did know that. I saw that today. I did see. In fact, I tweeted something about that, and I was kind of like, you know, I had heard things about the owners of Grumpy Cat. No, it's none of my business, right? I mean, yeah, Tartar Sauce, we should say, right? Yeah, that is an odd name, isn't it, Kabuki Kid? Yes, as Paul Nolan points out, that name might explain its grumpiness. But you know, whenever somebody has a pet pass away, I mean, that's tough. I mean, that is tough. I had to go and have... Well, I had to have a dog put down one time. It was our family dog. I got suckered into having to take the dog in. And then just recently, about a year and a half ago, there were 3 cats living here. It was Pinky and Smokey. Smokey's my cat. And there was also P. And P passed away. And we raced P over to the animal hospital, and it was tough. It was... Yeah, so I think it was, I guess it's about 2 years ago. And here I am, 49 years old in an animal hospital. And it's not my cat. And the cat was not necessarily like my pal. But I was bawling my eyes out. So anyway, maybe Lil Bub can be the next cat. Actually, Lil Bub has been super popular. Maybe not Grumpy Cat popular, but yeah, check out lilbub.com, lilbub.com. Or, of course, on YouTube, you can check the various different videos, too. So, all right, yeah, cat scratch fever. Wow, 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 wow. Yeah, we're not going to talk about, you know who. Okay, so I know people are tuning in because they want to check out Things from the Flood from Free League Publishing, otherwise known as Freelagon. It is designed by Chris Ainsworth, Ricard and Troya, Nils Heinz, and Simon Stalenhag. I think that's how it's pronounced. I don't think it's Stalenhag. With artwork provided by Renee Rosenberg and Simon Stalenhag. The 218-page hardcover is available for pre-order right now from the Free League Publishing website for $39.50. I gotta point out, there are retailers out there who are giving it an MSRP of $44.99 or $95 and charging that much for the hardcover. So do want to point out, you can order it from the Free League Publishing website for $39.50. PDF is not out yet. Rob Moffat says, "Oh crap, this is Scary Game Friday." Yes, it's Scary Game Friday. Yeah, that's what we're gonna do from now on. It's gonna be Scary Game Fridays. I actually don't get enough horror games anymore. Herman said this might be a Netflix thing. Yes, it actually is. And we could kind of discuss that, even though I know nothing about it. I know absolutely nothing about the Netflix deal that's been signed for Tales from the Loop, actually. So let's move on over to the other camera here. I've got Tales from the Loop sitting out. Let me grab a quick sip. I did a first look and page through about a week ago. I think it was a week ago. We're going to page through this as well. I'm going to kind of discuss some thoughts about it, especially for those who already own Tales from the Loop. I'm going to kind of focus a little bit, especially towards the end of the review, on if this is worth picking up, because there is a lot of things that Things from the Flood does share with Tales from the Loop. Now, keep in mind, these are both standalone games. So Tales from the Loop actually took place, it was supposed to be in the 1980s, of course, a fictional 1980s, and the player characters were all kids. So they were kids from about, the recommendation, if I remember correctly, is something about 10 to 13 years old, thereabouts. And now, with Things from the Flood, now the player characters are teens. So you're focused on ages 14 to 19. So anyway, there is a lot of talk about Tales from the Loop on the back. It had won quite a lot of awards, including 5 Ennies, or Ennies. I always pronounce it Ennie, but somebody said it's called Ennies. I don't know. I've never been to the award ceremony. It's like I go to Origins, and I can go to the Origins Award dinner. I just never have. So, best damn chat Friday. Chats have been really good lately, gang, haven't they? I mean, of course, I don't have an opportunity to follow the entire chat, especially when I'm doing a review and that. But yeah, we've had some good chats going. So Robert, you going to WBC? Dan, do you like own stock in that convention or something? All right, so let's dive on into Things from the Flood. I guarantee I'm going to call it Tales from the Loop a couple of times. I know that's what's going to happen. All right, so we're jumping on in here. We got the credits here. So, if you are familiar with Tales from the Loop, the Loop is actually a particle accelerator, or at least that's what it's supposed to be. And the default setting is actually in Sweden. Obviously enough, Free League Publishing is a Swedish laughing. Nefarious Coel's like, is Jeff going to WBC? Enough of that. Anyway, so the default location is a small island in Sweden, and there is also Boulder City, Nevada, if you want to place the setting in the United States. So in Tales from the Loop, there's just a lot of weird stuff going on, right? So there's like almost like there's future technology. So there's AI, there's robots, there's these magnetic ships that they have to go through certain areas, but it's how a lot of things are shipped. So it's very, very unique. And I want to say, I believe that's why Tales from the Loop won so many awards, is because it really is a very, very unique setting. So with Things from the Flood, this becomes a much darker tone to the proceedings. So now it's the 90s, and it's once again, it's kind of a fictional 90s, but it's actually it's much closer to our actual real science levels, because what happened is they've shut down the loop. So they shut down the loop. The loop has been broken up by the government, whatever government it is, right? Either in Sweden or here in the US. And everything's been portioned out and sold off, and anything they can make a profit on, what have you. And the loop's been flooded. They flood the loop and basically decommission it. But unfortunately, that creates a really weird backlash that people aren't sure if it has to do with the loop or not, because there's various areas of flooding. Unexplained flooding has taken place. Now the artificial intelligence is hated. So robots are actually hunted down now. They're not part of everyday life. The magnetic ships no longer can fly through the air, so that's done. So the first few pages kind of talk about, like for an example here, the rise and fall of the tech age, an alternate 1990s. There's a lot of discussion in the core book here about the 90s themselves. Now, of course, I was around in the 90s, so of course I was in my 20s, so I didn't fit into like the teens. So I think it's kind of funny. A mix of tech level 6 and 10, says Paul Nolan. Paul's busting out some traveler tech levels, no doubt. But it's kind of funny because in Tales from the Loop, it's all supposed to be kind of kids in the 80s. And then it's like, well, yeah, unfortunately, I wasn't a kid in the 80s. I was kind of a teen. And then, of course, with Things from the Flood, now it's like, now they're teens. And of course, in the 90s, I was in my 20s. But it's kind of funny because it'll talk about different things from the 90s with a point of view where it's like the reader knows nothing about it. And I have to laugh because it's like, yeah, I remember all this stuff really well. Kabuki Kid points out that the new show on HBO, Chernobyl, is really good. It is awesome. It is excellent. Yeah, we want to talk about scary stuff on Fridays. Man, because I'd actually listened to an audiobook about Chernobyl, I don't know, about 6 months ago. And wow, if they hadn't gotten a handle on that, it was going to be scary. There were going to be huge areas of Europe that would have not been inhabitable for maybe 1,000 years. So anyway, so we get a breakdown of what's going on both in Sweden as well as the U.S. There is one of the other, well, I guess I'll say one of the things that's going on coinciding with the loop being shut down is this machine cancer. So the advanced technology is suddenly kind of being turned backwards. And here's what I'm talking about, where it's like, oh, hey, what were some of the top TV shows, top movies, stuff like that. So it says Twin Peaks is like the number 1 out of top 10, or number 2, I should say. X-Files is number 1. Seinfeld is number 9. It's like, nope. Then we got like top 10 movies. We'll have music, role-playing games, things like that. So in this fictional 90s, so for an example, we see this TV that's got like this weird organic thing going on. It's really creepy. It's really, really bizarre. I am going to try to stay fairly spoiler-free, because a great deal of this book is actually stuff that the players are going to discover, and the 4 adventures that actually combine to make a campaign. So, talking about the 90s, talking about the island, things to do. As I mentioned, a bit bleaker tone to this, as the players are teenagers. Like the economy has gone south. The adults are all battling depression and things like that. So this is almost an Orwellian vibe to things from the flood. The 90s, hell, the 70s. As long as we don't talk about 70s music. 70s music, outside of a few bands, is pretty bad. Wasn't Eddie that creepy Iron Maiden thing? Yes, he was their mascot. I saw Maiden a couple of times in concert. All right, so talking about America, what's going on here? Hoover Dam disaster, because the loop in America was near the Hoover Dam, like I said, Boulder City, Nevada. But this is what I'm talking about with the weird machine cancer. It's like it's growing eyes. It's like, what? Dan says, Jeff, I like this. You're selling it. It's easier for me to talk about stuff that I actually really like. That's why you don't see me do a lot of like really negative reviews on stuff. Because it's like, I don't want to sit here talking about what I hate about something. So once again, this is more of a focus towards the U.S., what's going on. Got the loop if you're doing Boulder City, Nevada. Talking about the area around it. Now, there is some overlap with Tales from the Loop. Now, granted, that's supposed to be the 80s, and it's a little more hopeful, a little more, I guess I'll say a little less downer-ish. So then we move into character creation. Character creation is really easy. Tales from the Loop itself, which the system that is utilized in Tales from the Loop is I don't want to say it's exactly the same, but it's very, very similar to the same system that powers Forbidden Lands, same thing that powers Mutiny or Zero. It's all 6-sided dice. You're rolling for successes. Success is a 6 on a 6-sided die. And what you're basically doing is you're adding your attribute and your skill together. So if you have, say, an attribute that's a 1 and you've got a skill that's 2, you'd be rolling 3 6-sided dice. So we get these archetypes, and the archetypes kind of give you a bit of a breakdown on the kind of character style, because the characters are made up of, like I said, there's 4 attributes. There's like 3 skills for each attribute. It's not like tons and tons of skills and things like that, but there's almost, I'm not going to compare it to Kids on Bikes, but Kids on Bikes is similar in kind of its approach to characters, where it's more about the psychological aspects of the character more than anything else. It's about the relationships the characters have with each other. Oh my God, Montrose. You guys, everybody's talking about 70s music and that. Ronnie Montrose? Wow, I remember that. Wasn't I don't Montrose had like a couple of albums? I don't think there were all that many. Anyway, talking about the game. So each of the characters will have an iconic item. They'll have a problem. They have a drive, a shame, the relationships to other teens, so the other players' relationships, NPCs, hooks, an anchor, as well as they share like typical names. You do not necessarily have to take on one of these archetypes. It's very, very easy to sit there and create your own. So Nefarious says that the Mutineer Zero system has some powered by the Apocalypse DNA in its character creation. A bit. Although there are not... These do kind of feel like playbooks, which is how like character classes are kind of put together for games that are powered by the Apocalypse. There are no moves. Moves are the big deal with powered by the Apocalypse games. But Free League actually does their legacy system, which was the... it's all powered by the Apocalypse. I just saw somebody in chat talking about Sammy Hagar. So like, I saw Sammy Hagar and I think I was 12. I went to, we used to have, now we call it Taste of Chicago, but we used to have what was called Chicago Fest. And I remember going to see Sammy Hagar with my brother and some of his friends. Because my brother at that point, he was like 15, because he's 2.5 years older than me. And we went to Chicago Fest and Sammy Hagar played, and he was like all over the place. He was climbing up all of the scaffolding and stuff, and it was crazy. And it was kind of it was outdoors, right? And it was kind of drizzly out, and we were like, "Hey, is Sammy gonna get struck by lightning up there?" So anyway, so we've got a variety of different kinds of characters here. I would have been more along like the rocker. Kind of like the rocker kid. No, I'm not a snob, not a street kid. So, as I mentioned before, so it says your teen is between 14 and 19. Talking about the attributes, it's body, tech, heart, and mind. Then we got the skills. Like I said, for each attribute, there are 3 skills. So we got sneak, force, move for body, tinker, program, calculate for tech, contact, charm, and lead for heart, and investigate, comprehend, and emphasize for mind. That's it. That's all it is. So yes, Dan's trying to talk me into going to WBC. Anyway, so the artwork throughout, we see that we've got a lot of the Simon Stalenhag artwork sprinkled throughout. Yeah, I'm almost positive that's his. Because there's another artist who does some of the artwork in here too, but I think that's all the line art. Like, for an example, right here. That is not Simon Stalenhag. That's the other artist. So, the system to the game, like I said, pretty easy. There are no hit points. You don't have any hit points or anything like that. So, Flaming Huron's like, Jeff the Rocker, huh? Actually, it's more Jeff the Punk Rocker is what it was. Although... if you were watching, I think it was yesterday's show, I was talking about how I got my first job when I was 13. So I always was working. Not always, but I mean, I always had a job, right? And so when my friends were all doing their mohawks and stuff like that, no. I did not do that. I did not start dressing all in black and things like that. But so the system itself, you have conditions and you have scars. So scars is kind of like your hit points. So you can shake off you get your first scar, and it's not going to kill you. But as you accumulate scars, when you get your next scar, you have to roll a 6-sided die. And if you roll under the number of scars you have, then you're retired. I think it's equal to, no, it's got to be under it. So you got conditions too. So you can have upset, scared, exhausted, injured, and broken. So you'll have modifications, negative modifications to your successes depending on your condition, right? So if you're upset, now that doesn't necessarily mean that you're like emotionally like crying or anything like that. Yes, Paul Nolan's like, yeah, Jeff said he always had some extra scratch. Yes, I had extra scratch because I had that job. That's why I could go out on dates when my friends were like, oh, I can't go nowhere. I'd be like, see ya. I wasn't a jerk about it. But these are cumulative, so if you are scared, you're actually at -2 successes. Hey, Nefarious is running out. Good to see you, Nefarious. See you next week. But anyway, like I said, really, really simple system. I don't know if I necessarily want to say elegant, but it's really easy to get into. This is a great system as a gateway to game masters because it's not a ton of crunch. And as far as what you're basically looking to do is you're looking to roll 6-siders. Let me grab some Tales from the Loop dice here. You're just rolling your 6-siders, looking for successes. All right, if I can get the box open here. Crying out loud, what's going on? I opened this up before. What the hell? It's like, what is it stuck on? Jeez. Show off a good old special dice, which I think they're sold out, to be honest with you. So let's say as an example, right? So with these conditions, okay, so let's say I'm rolling 4 dice, right? Well, okay, I wouldn't get any successes there. That kind of stinks. But let's say I got a couple. Say I got a couple of successes. Well, if I were scared, then I would lose those 2 successes. So as far as like challenge rating or difficulty numbers, things like that, the game master can easily just say, okay, well, in order to succeed at whatever, you need 2 successes, not just 1. You need 2 successes. You can also push your roll. So if you roll your dice and say maybe you don't get any successes, or you get 1 success, but you want to improve upon that, you can push your roll. You have to re-roll your dice. But the thing is, if you fail, you can only push a roll once. But if you end up failing, then you suffer a condition. So, and you fail. So you gotta be careful as far as pushing your dice. You can do it all the time. Paul Nolan says we are all DMs here. Fudge those dice rolls. Absolutely not. I never do. What's the point of rolling dice if I'm just gonna, say, no, I'm changing it. No, my dice rolls are pristine. I do not fudge dice, and I know a lot of people do. A lot of people fudge their dice rolls. Thing is, if I want to change something up, I'm just not going to roll dice. I'm just going to say, okay, so this is it. This is what's going to happen. To me, I find, and I'm not picking on Paul. I'm just saying, kind of silly to roll dice if you're just going to disregard what the die roll is anyway. All right, Dan's got to go. I think he's heading out to WBC right now. So have a good one, Dan. See you next week. Enjoy your weekend. So yeah, fudge rolls. That's why they made DM screens. Says Flaming Huron. All right. So anyway, like I said, really pretty simple stuff. So we talk about the skills, and as I mentioned, the main focus with the characters is more psychological, more along the lines of how do these characters interact with each other? How do they interact with people in town? Like the NPCs, what is their shame? And I do want to point out that because this is, the characters are, older teens, sex does come into play. I mean, it's not, dealt with to an extreme extent, but it does exist. It's something that you want to keep in mind too. So then there's actually a good portion of the book is devoted to the mystery and how game masters can put together mysteries what's the best way of actually approaching the adventure or creating your adventure. Once again, like most modern role-playing games, you're looking at things from the Flood is scene-based. So it is a little bit railroady. It tends to be a bit more railroady than other games might be. Although, for the most part, I think a lot of people don't mind that anymore. I've said it before, when you're running like a horror game, it's kind of tough to really put together a scary horror game without some sort of railroading. Now, you're not necessarily going to shove your players into, just following everything that you're doing, like the way you want it to be. If that's the point, then you might as well just sit in a room by yourself, not even run a game. But like collaborative storytelling for a horror game, I don't think, I know I'm probably in the minority. I just don't think it works. So anyway, so talking about overview. One aspect of the game too is that you kind of seesaw back and forth. So you're seesawing back and forth between like the mystery and everyday life, and sometimes kind of the boredom of everyday life. So it's explained that when you're putting together your mystery, you kind of want to create almost like a flow chart, which is sort of how a lot of game masters actually put together their adventures for any system. All right, so talking about different phases of the mystery as well. Teens on the wrong track. That's interesting too, because it is very easy for players to find clues that they just can't put together. They don't piece it together. So there's some advice on that. And this is kind of what they're talking about as far as the mystery itself, the flow chart that you're putting together your mystery. Okay, so horror, talking about setting mood. We get some artwork of some of the technology. There was a lot of this stuff is all rotting away because of the machine cancer. Then we get into the mystery landscape. And this is where we get into the 4 adventures that comprise a campaign. So there's actually quite a lot to do with this. One of the adventures, like I said, I'm not gonna spoil the adventure, but the first 3 adventures are kind of standalone. They tie together a little bit, but they are more standalone. One is about machines reproducing, like sexually. It's like, wait, is David Cronenberg directing this? It's like, okay. So like I said, this is more of a mature game. Flaming Heron says, I find railroading is mostly a thing that happens in pre-generated adventures. Just need to give your players choice, and if they die, so be it. Yeah, I agree. I completely agree. Some of the, like I've mentioned this before. There are moments from role-playing games that I've run over the decades that my best friend Elliot Miller remembers to a T. I mean, he remembers the dice that were rolled, and he can't tell you what he had for lunch yesterday. And every one of the parts that he remembers was something that just came out of a hat based on what the characters were actually doing. So yes, Rob Buffett's like, machine sex? Yep, like I said, it's David Cronenberg must have written it. So anyway, so we've got the 3 different adventures. Each of the adventures you should be able to run them depending on how long your sessions are. I try to play at least 4 hours these days. Way back in the day, especially during a summer vacation in high school, it would not be unusual to have like 30 hours of role playing in, I don't know, 2-3 days. So, yep. All right. So anyway, so we're just kind of cutting through these. The Prophets of Pandora. And once again, we've got all this really sweet Simon Stalenhag artwork as well. Of Flesh and Steel. Wonder what that's about. Yes, It's Freaky Game Friday. Yeah, there you go, Rob. I think we could kind of figure out what I was talking about, right, just from the title. So yeah, it's kind of funny too, because the way this setting is that, we've got artificial intelligence. We got now the robots are being hunted down, a la Blade Runner, and the modems are still like 56 baud. What was it? Yeah, like baud. Wasn't that it? So it's kind of like, So as I mentioned, we've got the 3 kind of standalone mysteries, the standalone adventures. Probably take you, like I said, if you play like 4-hour sessions, couple of sessions, maybe 3. And then the 4th adventure, like I said, they tie together into a campaign. The 4th adventure is actually pretty big. So it's an oversized adventure, I'll say. So you're probably looking at taking maybe 3 or 4 sessions to wrap everything up. So anyway, like I said, I do not want to give away what's going on. I personally, I think the campaign's pretty good. Bleak. It's pretty bleak, but the whole setting is pretty bleak too. So as we finish up going through, I don't know why. I'm like, okay, so there's a can of coffee. All right, okay. But here's the flowchart once again. So we kind of get the flowcharts for each of the adventures too. But a lot of the game is really social role playing, as opposed to, let's always have combat, which I am a fan of. Now I like good combat, but to me, if a role playing game is just going to all be next combat, then I might as well just be playing a tactical board game or a miniatures game, something like that. So anyway, so we wrap up the campaign, and we get the backers from Kickstarter. We got the Things from the Flood character sheets and the index, and that is what we find in, it's 218 pages of Things from the Flood. So, what is my opinion of Things from the Flood and my review score? So, as I mentioned before, this is a 218-page hardcover. It's available for pre-order right now. It is shipping out later this month. I don't have an exact date. And it does carry an MSRP at the Free League Publishing website of $39.50. So, I was a big fan of Tales from the Loop. I like the system. I like the mechanics. Very, very easy to get into. Not super rules heavy. It's really rules light. But the Game Master also has a lot of leeway in how they approach things. There isn't. Okay, so one of the things I have kind of a problem with, well, maybe not a huge problem, but one thing that kind of throws me a little bit, especially with like modern role-playing games, and I'll give you an example. We'll take 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons. We'll take Pathfinder, right? So there's the whole like challenge rating and balancing out your encounters and making sure that nothing's too tough for the player characters, but then on the other hand, you don't want to have every monster or whatever NPC they go up against be some patsy. I'm not a huge fan of that, because that's not how like real life would work in a role-playing setting, right? It wouldn't be like, well, you can only go to this area here because all you can fight are goblins and kobolds and large spiders. So with Tales from the I knew I was going to start saying Tales from the Loop. Things from the Flood and Tales from the Loop, just if you need to bring the challenge down, require fewer successes. If you want to pump up the difficulty, make the players have to have more successes. So very, very easy for the Game Master to kind of tweak the difficulty, the challenges that the players are facing. I definitely dig the way the mystery section is laid out. It's about 20 pages in both books. And it's pretty similar in both books. Kind of laying out, hey, how do you approach creating a mystery for Tales from the Loop, or in this case, Things from the Flood? Dig that as well. Artwork, once again, really cool. I kind of like the darker feel. I sort of like the darker feel to the game as well. Now the teenagers can die. I mentioned that while we were going through, but I didn't focus on that a lot. So the way the scars work, so as I mentioned, you would be retired. Retired could mean that your character dies right then and there, or maybe they have one last blaze of glory and the character dies, or maybe they're just knocked out of the adventure, or maybe they're like so freaked out they go into hiding, what have you. There are ways for the characters to be removed from the adventure, including, which was not the case in Tales from the Loop, which, when you're playing like 10 to 13-year-olds, yeah, I can kind of see that. I don't know if I'd want to play a 10-year-old kid who ends up getting killed. I don't know. It's just kind of me. So, like all that stuff. I like the adventure. I think the adventure is pretty cool. I like the new setting. Now, you know, and the machine cancer, I don't want to spoil anything. It's bizarre. It's very, very bizarre. It's something that you could really, really go David Cronenberg on. I tell you, there's just something about this that has this like David Cronenberg vibe, almost like Videodrome, if anybody remembers that movie. Rob Moffat says game mastering sounds kind of tough. It's not. It's really not. It's not that difficult. It's not that easy to be a good game master. That we could do a Q&A one day. Just spend the whole show talking about that kind of stuff. But I think people would be pretty bored by my take. But anyway, all in all, the only thing that I would say is not necessarily a negative for me, but might be a negative for some people, is the darker tone, the kind of downturn the world is taken, where in Tales from the Loop, things were a little more hopeful. Things were just weird and bizarre, almost like an Erie, Indiana vibe to the proceedings, where this is more, things are taking a downturn. Could be, maybe life on Earth is at a precipice here that we could fall off. Don't know. Some people may not like that. As far as if you already own Tales from the Loop, should you buy this? That's a big question. So, on a scale of 1 to 10, just standalone, as a standalone product, I really, really dig Things from the Flood. I think it is, once again, I like the system, the Mutant Year Zero mechanics that are used. I like the setting. I like the artwork. Loads and loads to recommend this. So on a scale of 1 to 10, I give this the same score I gave Tales from the Loop, a 9.3. It is that good. I'm not sure it's going to win the kind of awards as Tales from the Loop did, because it's almost a little more of the same. Which brings me to the point of, if you already own Tales from the Loop, should you pick up Things from the Flood? That's a tough call, because the game, mechanically it's the same. There is the retirement, right, where you can off the characters or remove them from play. The setting has changed. The adventures, the 4 adventures, I should say, that make up the campaign are really, really good. But still got to remember, a lot of the page count is devoted to the same stuff that's in Tales from the Loop. Mechanics and how to create the mystery and all those things too. I'm not trying to dissuade anybody from picking it up, and I'm definitely not sitting here saying, well, if you got to pick one, you got to get. So this is what I would recommend for those folks out there who already own Tales from the Loop. You might want to keep an eye out for when it goes into PDF, which there are folks watching right now who watched the page through first look who have won copies of the PDF that'll be coming their way when it gets released in PDF. So what I would maybe think is, if you have Tales from the Loop, you don't want to invest another $40 in a hardcover book, take a look and get the PDF when it comes out. That would be my recommendation. Otherwise, have them both. It is that good. It really is that good. I just don't want people to feel like, wow, I feel like I'm getting taken advantage of because a good chunk of the page count is almost identical to from Things from the Flood to Tales from the Loop. So almost like Things from the Flood could have been released as a supplement, an expansion maybe. I don't know. I don't know if it needed to be its own core game, but regardless, it's still excellent. All right, so hey, Slade Wilson popped in for the end. Slade says, "Hey Jeff, catching the show a little late. Starting to really dig what Free League has been putting out. Solid content. Yeah, most definitely. And I don't know about anybody out there. I know I am certainly looking forward to checking out Alien when it arrives this summer. I'm hoping, I got my fingers crossed that that's going to be a Gen Con release. So, I don't know. Be pretty cool. Pretty cool. I'm looking forward to that. So Rob Moffat says, I've sold him on a few war games. Well, I got to point out, I'm not a shill. So when I talk about, nobody's paying me to do a review for Things from the Flood. GMT doesn't pay me to share their games. Tiny Battle Publishing, Flying Pig Games, they don't pay me. Nobody pays me to do reviews in that. So I just provide you with my honest opinion. So if it's something I like and I'm pumped about, yeah, of course I'm going to be, enthusiastic about it. So, all right. Anyway, that is it for tonight's show. See, there's a reason we didn't do any news tonight because we're already a little past the hour. And all we did really was kind of talk a little bit and jump into the review. So, as I mentioned, no live show on Monday. But on Monday, there will be an unboxing first look video for Fallout Wasteland Warfare Brotherhood of Steel. This is the core box of 7 miniatures and the cards, as well as a page through and first look at Ya Magazine, issue 12. This is 12, right? Yep, issue 12. That features MacArthur's Defeat. So, and then I will be back with a live show on Tuesday where I will be reviewing Traveler Ascension, Imperial Warrant from Daring Play Games. So, as I like to point out, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, by all means, please visit thegaminggang.com for all the latest in gaming news, reviews, comics, movies, TV. By now, you know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. Thank you for everyone hanging out, watching live, and taking part in chat. Always appreciate folks popping in and keeping me company. I was really surprised. I thought for sure, being a Friday, I'd be kind of talking to myself. So, you never know. Anyway, so thank you very much for taking part in chat. And for everyone else, thank you very much for watching. Thanks again for watching The Daily Dope, presented by The Gaming Gang. If you like this episode, be sure to give it a quick thumbs up. And if you dig the channel, please subscribe. If you'd like to check out our previous episode, click right here. And if you want to check out a somewhat randomly selected episode, give a click right down here. It'll be like opening a box of Cracker Jacks. You just don't know what you'll get. Once again, thanks for watching, and I'm Jeff McAleer.